This episode of the Inside Running Podcast is brought to you by Pillar Performance, Australia's leading sports micronutrition brand, providing high-strength, informed, sports-certified formulations to support recovery, boost immunity, and relieve joint inflammation for endurance athletes.
Child, that your skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place? Under the cover of my skin, I've heard all your names. If it's all the same, I'll keep on walking.
Welcome to episode number 254 of the Inside Run Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another week. Got maybe a quicker show coming at you this week. Not much running news. We'll go to the Diamond League Final. We'll talk about some Australians in action over in Europe. Melbourne Marathon segment again. Thanks to those guys for supporting the podcast. That's getting closer every week that we record. And also a bit of stuff about the Great North Run that happened yesterday overseas also. So a bit to get through. Looking forward to talking running with my two co-hosts as we do each and every other week on this podcast. Welcome to my co-host Bradley Croker up in Canberra. How you going, Croaks?
Good, thanks, Brady. You'll be happy to know that the podcast NRL team made it through week one of the finals, the Canberra Raiders.
Yeah, I did. I actually looked up the results on Saturday, Croaks, because I didn't see any of the footage, but I was just looking forward to seeing how they progressed in the first week of the finals. Our AFL affiliate team as well is still alive in the AFL, the Collingwood Magpies. So there's a bit going on in the football codes. But that's great to hear the Raiders are through. How many teams are still left in the NRL?
So we're a week behind the AFL, so there's six now.
Yeah, very good. My other co-host down in Anglesea, Julian Spence, how you tracking?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Good.
That's good. Croak sounds better too, doesn't he, Moose? It's good
much better.
Hear a bit of a bounce back there.
Gee, he hammed it up, didn't he, last week? He really hammed it up.
Oh, on his deathbed, wasn't he? Yeah. No,
mate, I got
pretty
worse.
serious.
I got worse after Monday night's podcast.
So tell the listeners, what did you get diagnosed with?
So I ended up with pneumonia, which got diagnosed on Thursday. So pretty much when we finished recording, my voice was no good and I didn't feel great, but I wouldn't say I felt that sick. And then Monday night I started to get fever. So basically for the next 3 nights, it was a cycle of I would be shivering for 2 hours. It would get to the point where Viv would come over and cuddle me and warm me up. She's like, "You are so hot." I'm like, "I'm freezing." And then the fever would stop. I'd fall asleep for about half an hour and then I'd wake up in a pool of sweat. And then that would just repeat throughout the night. So that went Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but I thought it was just some chest infection. It would just settle down. And then by Wednesday night, my chest got really, my breathing, got really sort of shallow, and it sort of started to panic a little bit. It almost reminded me of when I got stung by a wasp in Berlin, Brady, when I had that little bit of a reaction where I couldn't sort of breathe properly. And when you're breathing normally, you have that sort of pause at the top and a pause at the bottom, whereas obviously my breathing was no good, that I couldn't breathe all the way in. And as soon as I finished breathing in, I had to breathe out pretty quick to then get another breath in. So I went to the doctor on Thursday. And then, he obviously did some tests and then said, you've got pneumonia. He then sent me off for a chest x-ray just to see how bad it was. Because if it was really bad, I would have gone to hospital and had antibiotics through the drip. But as it turned out, I've just got 2 different antibiotics. So it was still pretty ordinary Friday, Saturday. It took a couple of days for the antibiotics to kick in. Last night was probably the first night where I was able to sleep properly. So it was a pretty shit week last week. Probably the worst sickness I've ever had.
No running at all as well, of course. That's
right.
I
didn't run, and to be honest, like running was like just not even on the radar. Like I just did not care about running at all. I just wanted my health back.
Yeah, fair enough. Would have been scary, that breathing stuff, but good to hear you're getting better now.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Like I don't know that many people. Like anytime I've heard of pneumonia, it's been like older people, and a lot of people older people have often died.
That's why I was concerned when you said you had it, like at your age.
But I can see like how scary it is. Like, my lungs are pretty good, and on that Wednesday night when my breathing started to become like pretty tough, and then what made it worse was then I started to panic a little bit, and like I had to sort of just calm myself down because you then go into a panic attack and that affects your breathing even more. So, but in terms of returning to running, I guess it's a pretty sort of slowish rebuild, like just lots of easy jogging, wear the heart rate strap. But like I won't be jumping back into sessions quickly.
Oh well, good to hear you're on the better side of it. I think I said that last week actually about your sickness. Everything's on the right side, but now it's hopefully for good. Moose, what have you been doing? You've been doing some running, and we're just going through your Strava. Did not fill my request from getting a bit creative with these titles.
Oh, nothing. Yeah, I'm too busy for that shit,
Not a photo, not a title inside here.
Honestly, Come on. What do you mean? I'm flat out.
Even your kudos are going down too. I think the punters out there, the population who follow you, are really getting disappointed. Not a lot of kudos coming through to you.
I can't.
Followers dropping.
I wouldn't be kudosing my shit either. Like, to be fair, it's pretty average.
What about you do a week of throwback photos where every day this week you upload an old photo of you running over the years?
Of me running?
Yeah, just get some old Chico State style.
Lee Troop style.
Does Trooper do that, does he?
He's been doing it lately on Facebook.
Has he?
Videos.
I'm not friends with him on Facebook. I'm going to add him.
Yeah, there you go, Moose. That's a good idea.
I don't think there's that many photos of me actually running. I was pre-camera. I was pre-social media.
So for the 7 days, we could go Chico State, your old ultra running days, that's 2. Maybe one with the Australian uniform, 3. Maybe a couple like Geelong uniforms back in the day. That's at least 5, and then you can give me 2 of like just some special, or maybe
you playing AFL, Moose. I'd love to see one of those.
Get one of those up there too.
No, I was well and truly before the internet was even a thing. Yeah. I don't have photos of that.
I was talking to Rory Flanagan. Remember we talked about him a couple of weeks ago, and I said, was that really, you, the Patreon supporter who played with Moose? And he goes, yeah, that was me. I used to live down there. It was a real good footy club. And he said you were pretty good, like the Falcon kids that would come back to Anglesea to play. But he reckons now they're stuffed because there's no kids coming through Anglesea anymore because no one can afford to live there.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, our under-18s won the flag this year in Div 2. I don't know. Like he's right in that regard. The kids are like it's a very tourist town and a real holiday makers town. But we do seem to have good athletes come out of here. Pat Dangerfield was an Anglesea footy club man, and the coach is the coach now, Jordan. I run with him a bit, and he's doing a lot of recruiting. So he's got his hopes for next year. High hopes.
Okay.
Tell
us about your running week.
Yeah. I jogged on the Monday, just half an hour, because I'd come off what I consider a long run, and my knee was a bit sore. So I stirred it up a bit. I think it was the hills. The hills seemed to stir it up more than anything. I ran 40 minutes. I ran 30 minutes on the Monday, 40 minutes on the Tuesday morning. I tried to do a little pickup actually. So I was going to just finish strong. And I got some knee pain, so I thought, let's just get home. Let's just jog back. So didn't really push that. Then the next day, so that was Tuesday. Wednesday, I went to go for a jog in the morning. I got changed. Then I went down. I bent over to pick up Pia, and I hurt my back, like as I bent over. So that was like right before I went for a run. I tried to jog out the driveway. I had to turn around that morning, so got changed, got the kit ready, got the shoes tied up, and then hurt my back. So no run on that day. We had the Saucony evening on Thursday at the running company, Geelong. So Saucony came along, dropped off their range of wear test shoes. they've got some good, like Saucony has a very strong lineup at the moment, and I'm not sure whether you boys have ever worn any of them.
Endorphin Pro and
Endorphin Pro.
Triumph.
Yeah. Oh,
Remember they sponsored the show? I reckon they sponsored the show like when we're up to like episode 40. We got a pair of Triumphs each.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, maybe.
They were great. Yeah.
The new one's even better. So the new one is one like shoe of the year nearly, I reckon. It's a massive highlight for me. The Endorphin Pro 3 is probably the best race shoe at the moment in my rotation. So I love it. I think it would be a hard choice between that or the Alpha Fly for marathon if I was going to run a marathon next week. If I was doing a 10K, it'd be the Endorphin Pro, the third version. So I reckon they're a serious contender now.
That's pretty good. Like, that's a good endorsement considering they're not sponsoring this week's show.
Well, and I've got all the super shoes. Like, yeah. I've got them. There's a lot that I don't like. And I might like them for one run and then not like them again. And I've worn this every time I've worn it. I took it off and thought, that just makes me want to go running that shoe. So I'm a big fan of that, and it helps. Like it feels very snappy. It's got a strong rocker, but it's also got a big bubble of cushion right under the ball of the foot, kind of like an Alpha Fly. And I really like the Alpha Fly too. So I'm gonna be wearing that more often. Tan relay shoe this week. But yeah, we had the wear test kit, so we went out for a jog that night. So it was just half an hour. Pretty cool. Pretty good vibe. Pretty bad weather, so not that many people showed up. Whatever. Next day, ran half an hour around Anglesey. What did I do? Oh yeah, that was just me running. And then on Saturday morning, I ran with Bree. We did some strides afterwards. Ran with the pram. Share the duties. You ever run with your wife, fellas, with the pram?
No, negative.
Ever done that?
I've run with my wife. Never run with the pram.
Not the wife and baby combo.
Do you put the dog underneath the pram too?
Nah, dog's staying at home. But it's okay. Like it's not bad because half the run you're just running normally, and then the other half you've got to deal with a pram, which sucks. But kind of go on these routes where you can push it way ahead, and then just run with a normal sort of gait for like arm swing. Then you get up to it and you push it way ahead. You haven't been doing much pram running, though, have you?
When you say way ahead, you mean like half a metre?
Like 10 metres?
10 metres.
Yeah.
Push it 10 metres ahead and just let it fly.
Can. What's going to happen?
The one I've got attaches to your hand, so like even if you let go, it's still got a bit of like cord to keep you in touch with it.
Yeah, I don't use that. That's like the nerd thing. We've got that too.
Also called the safety thing. You got a baby in there, but anyway. Yeah.
Julian likes being fast and loose.
Fast and loose with the prams.
This is a rock solid thing. Friends gave it to us. Ironman brand. So you know it's good.
I could probably, Olivia's nearly old enough to go in the pram now. Should take her for a spin soon.
Yeah, it's good because we run into kangaroos and stuff out there. So you can stop and like watch the kangaroos. So it's pretty fun. And then Sunday morning, I decided to jump in with the guys had a workout, like a long run workout. Will and Lockie, they're doing Melbourne Marathon, so I did the business end of their workout. So they went 15k easy, 10k at around 4-minute pace, 7k around 3:40, and then 4k around 3:30. That was the goal, but they were going pretty good. I jumped in, did about a 1,500 metre warm-up, then met them for a couple of K at 4 minutes, I think it was. And then we just ran around the sands. I felt really good. Like my knees felt great. Fitness felt okay. It just felt really cool to be in a group running fast again. Just some good vibes. Like the sun was out. These boys are fit. Like they'd obviously been running for 2 hours before I even met them. So they were fatigued and I was fresh. So it was a bit of a cheat's way to do it. I had a little bit more energy than they did at the time, but they ran really well. And so I think they're going to be on for good ones. And yeah, that was my week. So I think it was only about 50k or so. I should look No, it doesn't matter.
47.9.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, that was with a pretty sore knee early in the week. But the knee feels good now. I've started to do more strength, and I've worked out I've got to stay off the hills and the trails. Seems to be worse for it. If I stay flat, I can run longer and longer / further.
Will you'll definitely race Saturday, Moose?
Yeah, I reckon.
Yep.
Yeah, I can. There's no reason why I wouldn't at the moment unless some staffing stuff happens at the store, but I should be all good.
Will that speed aggravate it?
I don't think so. I think I should be okay.
Race, it should be right.
Yeah, it's probably more the hills, like that long downhill, that's got the most amount of potential to stir it up. But last event, get through this, and then it's fun run season.
Will you run Divi 1?
I don't think so.
Be right on the
yeah.
close, won't you?
I don't think that distance, that's not a strength of mine. I've never really had a good race at the Tan in the past. I don't have a good record there. So I think he's going to have some... Do you
reckon the selectors are digging up old results to look at your past history?
No, I don't think we have selectors. I think it's just a couple of blokes that they actually try to palm the job off. They try to get other people to make the decision. It's not like you guys. It's not like you shafting Jamie Cook and being real ruthless like that.
I'm not a selector. We just fill out a Google form and then that goes through to the selection committee. Then I got. You're
not on the selection committee.
No. Then
I heard you were actually.
I'm not on the selection committee. Then I just got an email today saying this is what the teams are.
Did you get a gig?
Got a gig. Divi 1. Yep. Just. Good. A couple of young fellas coming up actually. There's 2 back kids went first and second at the Australian Cross Country Champs over in Adelaide in the under 18 race the other day. So
yeah, but
which is pretty exciting. So they're coming up.
This is more like a 5k race than a 1500.
Yeah, well I think their cross country race was 6k, so they're used to running that distance.
But what would they run for 5k on the track?
Oh, they're probably 14:30 guys, 14:35.
Okay, yeah.
I think they run about 8:25 for 3k.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, well, the 2 best kids in the country at under 18s. No slouches, Moose.
Who coaches them?
Andy, the big dog Buchanan.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. I'll tell you about my week. It's pretty cruisy. 30 minutes Monday, 30 minutes Tuesday, 40 minutes Wednesday. Did 57 minutes with some strides in there on the Thursday. It was raining most of that run. But so I got a bit wet, but it was okay. It was good to do some strides. I just did like 8 by 20 seconds just out the front. Actually saw a bloke drove past, wound his window down, and he congratulated me on winning stall back in April, boys. I thought you'd like that story.
Shut
so that
up.
Was good. Nah, true. Tony Jones, his name is. Tony Jones.
How about Brady? He manages to find once a week in our group chat, he manages to just slip, one stall twice.
How many stall stashes do they won? Every time you put somebody else in there?
It's about once a week in our group chat.
Yeah, so dry croaks are still happening in day-to-day life, so it's important to just remind people about that. So, wound down the window. His daughter actually is the Fox Footy. Ever watch Fox Footy, Moose? Sarah Jones, the host on there?
No.
That's his daughter. Pretty big personality in the footy world.
Tony Jones?
Yeah, I think his name's Tony. Not the news reporter Tony Jones. I think his name's Tony, yeah. Anyway, so that was good. And then Saturday I got out for Friday. What did I do Friday? Maybe I had Friday off. Maybe my run hasn't uploaded. Yeah, I know.
No,
maybe that was Friday.
You did an hour. You did an hour at 4:22s.
Did I?
Yeah. Road to Berlin,
that's
3.
Right. Road to Berlin. Yeah, I listened to you and Christian, Moose. That was really good. People, if you're not on Patreon and you're interested in marathon stuff, I'm not trying to do this just to get Patreon sign-ups, but this hour conversation between Moose and Christian, I come home and took notes. I was like, these are things I've got to remember for my own coaching when I'm coaching marathoners, my own program when I'm getting ready for Valencia. I just thought it was a really good conversation, and Christian's really good at making it a conversation, not like you're just interviewing him when he recaps his week. So he actually... I was running along, why doesn't Moose talk about this stuff when we actually talk about training on our podcast? Because he brought you into the conversation really well. And I thought from both of you guys, it was, some really gems of marathon training knowledge there that anyone could listen to and implement into their own life. Have you listened to it, Croaks?
No, mate. Been on my deathbed.
You probably should have listened to it before you got
You've been doing nothing, mate. You sit in bed, listen to a podcast.
Yeah, running hasn't been on my mind.
You're
But
on
I will listen to it.
You better listen to it before you host episode 4 this Wednesday night. So, yeah, that was really good. I enjoyed that whilst I was running for an hour on the Friday.
He thinks about it a lot, doesn't he? Thinks about running.
He's just a smart guy.
Life is running for him.
Running is life. Life is running. Yeah, it was good. Good shoe chat in there. I love how you just, I love the Norwegian knowledge that comes into it too. Like when you started talking about this town where the half marathon was. I like all of those little details where you just paint the picture beautifully. Anyway, that was a nice Friday jog. Then Saturday, I did a long run. Wasn't initially planning to do a long run this week. I was going to have it fully down. But then I looked at my next 4 weeks and, Tan realised this weekend coming. Weekend after that's pretty normal. The weekend after that's Melbourne Marathon though, and I'm going to be doing some pacing there. So I kind of looked at, and then I think it's like 8 weeks until Valencia, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of not going to do a long time on feet long run for potentially, or I might do one out of 3 weeks. So I just thought, I'm feeling fresh. I was feeling good. I was probably ready to get back into training like on the Thursday, Friday. I was feeling good, and I thought I might just pencil in a long run here, get this one done, because I'm going to miss a couple in the next couple of weeks. So I did 2 hours 45. I listened to that Derek Clayton interview with, who's the man? Your mate, Moose?
Andre Lagersh
on the cardiology podcast. I found it was pretty interesting. Got me through the first hour. I wish they talked more about his training. Like he threw some numbers around there a lot where he was talking about, 200, 300 miles a week. I think he said at one stage he was running, which is just absolutely insane. And yeah, I would have loved to hear a bit more about what his weeks actually looked like, not just the mileage, but pretty cool.
I don't think that was the point.
I know,
of the podcast.
Yeah. And I was listening to it like, if I was interviewing, these are the questions I'd ask. But I think it was more the cardiology stuff, which you could tell the way they brought that in throughout the conversation. But still, like getting an hour exposure to him, which I've heard is pretty hard to get. I don't think he does much media, so it was still absolutely better than nothing. So that got me through the first hour. Then I listened to a bit of music. It kind of dragged the last 30, 40 minutes. But
have you read Clayton's book?
No, I haven't got it. You can't get a copy of it.
Yeah,
it's pretty hard to get. Where'd you get yours from, Scott?
Yes. I think I got 2 copies now. I reckon I had one. I reckon one through Scott, and then I got another one.
I'll do you a swap.
Yeah, you might have to borrow one.
Is that Running to the Top, that one? That would be its only one, wouldn't it?
It's only one book, yeah. It's a little red one, tiny little red book.
And that documents his training really well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It talks about... I can't believe how many injuries he got.
Yeah.
Like that,
1982 was published.
Yeah, and how many surgeries he had. Like, he was getting knee surgeries and Achilles surgery. He was getting all sorts of surgeries. I think he had 11 or something.
Back when surgeries were major, and no keyhole surgery.
Yeah, and it seemed a little bit like experimental stuff back then too. I don't think they would do the same sorts of surgeries as they would now.
Yeah, and even just the stories about the Olympics and Fukuoka and it was incredible. And they always bring up, and we do it as well, why haven't our marathoners got that Australian record, from his era, Deke, Moneghetti, why are we still not running that quick? And I think it comes down to the mileage. These guys were just doing monster mileage, for huge amounts of years stacked on top of each other. And I'm not sure if our current guys are doing that same amount of... he's talking 200-mile weeks. I think we'd be stretched to find athletes doing 200K weeks. And if they do, maybe they just do it for 4 or 5 weeks leading into a marathon. These guys seem to be doing that year round. Yeah, but
volume and consistency. Those 2 things.
Yeah.
We obsess over the small things, I reckon, workout specifics, paces, recoveries, all this.
Yeah.
When it's volume and consistency, which is the 95% of the success, and because we can quantify the other stuff, and it's fun to play around with things, and we complicate it, I reckon. Like, I'm so guilty of sitting down and working out a session and spending 15 minutes working the details out when it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I reckon I said, I don't know, like a couple of months ago that I can't remember. It must have been a listener question about like how you know you're going well or whatever. And for me, it's like if I can look back and see that I've strung together like 15 weeks of like good volume, it doesn't even matter what I've done from a session point of view in that. I know I'm going to be running well.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, volume's the key. And I think he said that as well. Like, he's like, I wasn't worried about running fast because he was preparing for the marathon, and that's a longer distance event. So he'd wanted to smash himself over. I think he was running a marathon pretty much every weekend.
And that's 15 weeks, Croaks. What about like 4 years? That's when shit gets real, like in terms of fitness. That's when breakthroughs happen.
Oh, like Jeremy Ross, perfect example of that. Guy never missed anything for 10 years. And then, you know, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying this, like not the most like naturally gifted runner, but he didn't miss anything for 10 years and ran 3:34. Which back then 3:34 was like pretty damn quick.
Yeah, and do you think, because then I looked at a couple of comments, because I did 2 hours 45, which I was like, that's nothing. Like, yeah, it's 15 minutes more than like 2.5 hours, of course, but it come up as 39k on Strava, looks good. And then people are like, you know, this is great, well done, this is a huge flex, you know, you're a mileage monster, things like that. But I'm like, if Derek Clayton did this back in the day, he'd just be like, this is 4k short of my standard Sunday.
Yeah, no, that's like the Ballarat group was 2.5 hours. That's just what you'd run.
Yeah,
2.5 hours. Oh, you're doing a marathon, you go longer.
Yeah.
And that's moving through the bush. Like, that's 35k at least every Sunday, no problems.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Whereas now I think we over celebrate this stuff because we think it's a bit like, rare, whereas it should be just the accepted thing every weekend.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Then, so that was Saturday. I did that Saturday because we wanted to have a couple of beers on Saturday night, lit the fire. It was good to be home for the weekend, watched Collingwood destroy the Freo Dockers, and then I got out for 45 minutes on the Sunday morning. Nice and easy, 4:49 pace. Got a bit of single track in there, so that slowed me down a bit. Uploaded a picture of the Collingwood Magpie boys there. Moose, Dacos, Crisp. So,
mate, he's good. I'll pay that. That bloke is a freak.
How exciting is the brand of footy they play? How they just like, all endurance athletes should be loving watching Collingwood because they just pretty much run up and down and just try to run teams off their feet. It's a very exciting brand of footy to watch. Yeah,
you've got some like Pendlebury. I remember watching against Geelong, just thinking, this guy is the silkiest player. Yeah. No one can touch him. He's got more intuition about the game than anyone else on the field. That's what I was thinking. But then you've got Dacos. I'm like, this kid's how old?
19.
19 years old in his first year of footy. He is incredible. He is going to be the best in the game.
And then Ginnivan, I think he's like 19 or 20. He's kicked like 40 goals for the year as well. Like, with all the media, like pressure on him, just stands up in big games and stuff. Like, it's just so many good stories, Croaks. Not an AFL podcast, obviously, but for a team to go from 7-8 to a prelim, it's just unbelievable. Just enjoying the ride. Hopefully we've got a couple more weeks left of it, Collingwood supporters out there. But that was my week, boys. 97.6k. Down week's complete. First run towards Valencia today. Got 12 weeks, I think, till that marathon rolls around. So should be good.
12 weeks, eh?
Yeah, it's coming around. It's going to come around quick. When I started looking at the program, I'm like, ugh. And I'm in a really good spot. Like, I'm very happy from where I'm at. 12 weeks it was yesterday. 11 weeks this weekend. So that should be good. Town Relays, smack a fast 3-4K. Had a look at some old times today. Croker's got the fastest time of the show, Moose. Didn't know that. It's only run around it once.
Only done it once.
What's the time?
What was it? 11:19 or something?
11:16, I think.
Oh yeah.
11:16. I looked up.
I'm not far off that. Jeez.
Weren't you like 11:55?
No. That was once.
Oh.
How many years did you look at?
I only looked at a couple of years. I only looked at the years that I was trying to find.
I reckon I run 11:17 or something.
Oh, I've run fastest time I found for myself was 11:24. Back in 2010.
Hold on, I'm going to the tan. I'm going.
Is there a place to see them all in one spot?
I'm just going to the Strava segments.
No,
there is a list. This is pre-Strava, 2010. I didn't have Strava. Oh, I uploaded all my old stuff. I went through it. Let me have a look.
They need an all-time list somewhere. Like, I know there's a top 10, but you need the guys who are like 100th on this list.
Run the Tan on their website have a top 100.
Are you in that, Croaks?
I don't know.
I was, but I'm not sure because every year they run this event, you'll get knocked out. But it hasn't been updated. So
Hall of Fame, top 100. Oh, yeah, this is great radio, boys. Craig Mottram up the top.
11-16, equal 98th.
Oh, you're still in the top 100.
Oh,
Yeah.
When did that get updated?
I don't see Julian Spence here.
No Julian Spence.
Well,
in the top
no,
100.
not if I'm 11-17.
Oh, yeah. That's my goal then for this weekend, to get in this top 100. 11-16 for 3.8k with a massive hill in there.
Okay.
Oh, there's some not that good runners in front of you, Croaks. Not going to say any names.
I did it once. It wasn't that fit.
Hey,
I reckon I ran like 31 something for the Canberra Times 10k the week before and finished third in that race. And then I ran Melbourne half after that in like 66 something, and then I ran 29.59 at Zagreb in December. That was that year.
Yeah.
So geez. I wasn't setting any records.
Hollis is 33rd, 10.52.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to check that out after the show. I'm pretty excited to look through some of those old names. Let's thank some Patreon supporters. Bradley, who you got this week?
Isabel Kiki-Rekov from Mossman. Isabel's part of the run crew group up there and gets in the pool a bit and possibly owns a cat who likes sleeping in Nike shoeboxes. Ran Launceston half marathon this year in 93 minutes, which was a 3-minute PB and 7th female. And she ran 41.59 at the Sun Run, which is her 10k PB, which is it's a tough 10k. So on a flat course, she'd run a lot faster. So thanks for your support, Isabel.
Yeah, thanks, Isabel. Who you got, Moose?
I got Peter Jenkins. I think he's from Sydney, Queenscliff in Sydney. Coached by Ali Pashley. 18.58 5k, 1:30.28 for the half marathon. Loves running and beer, and he's just trying to find a balance and get some more consistency going. He's training for Melbourne Marathon. He also sails, so fits his running in around sailing races. He's done Sydney to Hobart several times.
Really?
So, yes, sailing.
That's an interesting combination,
Yachting.
running and sailing.
Yachting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to thank Campbell Carter. His 50th birthday is on this Sunday, and to celebrate is running the Sydney Marathon. Was it the Gold Coast Live podcast, boys? He ran 3:10 at Melbourne last year, and he's also going to do the Sydney-Melbourne double. That's going to be tough to pull off, Campbell, I reckon. What do you got 2 weeks between the race days? Barracks for the mighty Collingwood Magpies, already spoken about them today, so a big part of the Collingwood army is Campbell. So have a good 50th on Sunday morning. Have a marathon to celebrate, Campbell, and thanks for your support of the Inside Running podcast. All our listeners over there that keep the show alive each and every week. There's bonus content. You get the early release. About 110 episodes over there if you want to support us, and then get your RSS feed, put that into your podcast player, and then about 110 episodes will appear in there. All the old Road to Nowhere stuff, all the Road to Valencia stuff, all the Road to New York stuff, all the bonus question and answer episodes, and all the Road to Berlin stuff with Christian hitting your airways every Wednesday night leading up to the race. So there's plenty of content there if that's what you want. And support us, bring the show to you each and every week and covering the sport here in Australia. Running news, boys.
Patrons?
Yeah, thanks to those legends. Australia's premier micronutrition brand, Pillar Performance, is the leading choice when it comes to high-strength formulations to power Australian running performance. Pillar's range is purposely formulated to support optimal recovery, elevate energy production, relieve joint inflammation, and boost immunity, providing potent, targeted micronutrient support to middle and long-distance runners. The Pillar range is now completely Informed Sports certified, meaning all Pillar products are independently batch tested and athlete safe. This commitment to quality and clean sport now sees Pillar used by more than 40 professional sporting teams and countless individual athletes across the country. The Pillar team is celebrating the recent launch of their Ultra Immune C powder, an immunity boosting formula featuring a high-strength dose of vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D. The perfect partner for a heavy training block or race preparation, Ultra Immune C has been developed in consultation with leading professional sporting organisations to address the specific immunity challenges associated with run-down athletes. The powerful combination of immunity-boosting micros is delivered in a light powder and features a delicious tropical twist, keeping your immune system firing in even the toughest conditions. To celebrate this release, the Pillar team has an exclusive offer for Inside Running podcast listeners. Head to their website and use the code SKIPSICK to receive a $10 off Ultra Immune C. That's SKIPSICK. To redeem this offer, or for more information on Pillar Performance and their range of sports micronutrition, head to pillarperformance.shop. Going to go Diamond League Final first, Moose. Tell us about what happened there. 5K?
Well, I didn't actually watch this. However, I was in about 8 message groups that just really had negative feedback about this course. So it was held on the street course, 563 metres, lapped course. Women's race, there were 7 ladies under 15 minutes. We had one, Rose Davies, who was 10th place, which was last in 16:04. So not a brilliant run from Rose. I haven't seen her racing that much since Com Games, have we, or at all?
Right? Well, even her season, like she ran well to get the 10K standard was it Stanford? She did that. But then I wouldn't say that she's had an amazing season. I can't remember off the top of my head any of her results that I'm like, oh wow, that was a really impressive run from Rose in the last 5 months. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I just feel like she's been over there forever too.
It's funny because you watch like Oli and Oli, Stewy, even Izzy to a degree. Like they do have these great runs. And then they might have a bad run, but then they come back and run really well again. So they have put some huge runs down it. But yeah, we haven't really seen that big one after Rose did run that, like April, I guess it was, wasn't it? After she was so dominant over here in summer. But yeah, the top 3, Beatrice Chebet ran 14:32, Margaret Chalimo Kip Kemboy was second, same time, so must have been close. Didn't see the finish, to be honest. Goodaf Tesagai was third, 14:33.
That's Tesgay, isn't it?
Oh, it was Segay.
Segay. Well, 3 options there, listeners. Pick and choose whichever one you like.
In the men's, Nicholas Kip Career, he was in first place again. Very tight race here. He ran 13 flat, and so he's knocked off Dominic Lokinyomo Lobalu. What's that? South Sudan? What's that country?
He might be right.
SSD.
Or was he? Hang on, I want to get this right.
No, well,
I think. South Sudan, you're right.
South Sudan,
There was another athlete who was running really well he was one of the refugee runners.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought I was getting confused there for a second.
Have we heard of this bloke before?
Well, we must have if he's made the Diamond League Final.
Well, he's run 13 flat to come second.
Yeah, his PB is 12:52 from this year.
Oh, damn.
He did that in Belgium. He also ran 7:29 this year at the Stockholm Diamond League. Is this guy? Remember?
Yeah, this is the bloke we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe in our own message group, not on online, not on record. About his very great progression. Third place, Grant Fisher. So he ran 13:01. That bloke's just up and about. he could win anything at the moment. Any race he goes in, basically, like on the track anyway, 5-10Ks. Only 7 of the 11 finished in the men's race. Yeah, apparently not great viewing, Croaks. I know you hated the track before it even started. You couldn't really tell when the laps were going. You didn't know how fast people were travelling. The bends looked a bit tough.
But even the construction of the course looks crap. Like, you can see these joins in the middle. And actually, I reckon Cheriuyot, I reckon he stepped off after he hit like a rough patch of the track, and it looked like he just went like, stuff this, I'm done. Like, I get it. Like, the street festival, it's innovative, and I guess they're trying something new, because I know they had the pole vault out there, which Aussie won, Kennedy. And they also had shot put. But, like, if you're going to put a running event out here, put the 100 metres. Like, all you need is 100 metres straight. And it's similar to the stadium. Unlike, this course is nothing like running a 5K on the track, which is what they've been doing all season. Like, as I said to you boys in our group chat, like, yes, I hate it. And it's like the bloody NBA taking the finals down to friggin' Venice Beach courts. Like, you bring it to the people, but it's not the way that they've done their whole season. So I hope they scrap it. And I've actually heard a couple of interviews today. Sidious Mag had like they're interviewing athletes like after the fifth mile? The fifth Ave mile. And nobody loves it. Like, none of the elite athletes love it. So hopefully it gets canned for good.
Well, you could even see that the fields were small. There was, I think, the men's race, how many people pulled out there? Like, there was only maybe 11 in there and only 7 finished. Maybe there was a pacemaker. Yeah. But, yeah, it didn't feel like a final. Like, that. They're meant to be the special ones. It felt like a real gimmicky kind of thing with the footage I saw. And, like, the footage cut away for a long period of time where they missed a race.
You're talking big money here as well. And so,
yeah, how much? Like, do you know the prize money for Diamond League Final?
Is it like maybe 70 grand?
Yeah, I'll look that up. But I'll back on Dominic. Can I just talk about him for a second? So he is the same guy. So South Sudan, but then he took refuge in Kenya when he was 8, and then he took up running when he was 15, and then he is permanently settled in Switzerland. So he was the guy for a while there. He couldn't leave Switzerland, so he could only do certain races that were in Switzerland, obviously. But then his progression has been incredible. Like, he's gone from his 5K was 14:02 in 2020, and now down to 12:52. And he took it down to 13:34 in 2021. And then he runs for On now. Same thing. His 10K went from 28:32 to 27:58. So yeah, name to look out for in the future.
Bit of Mohammed Katir about him from last year.
Yeah, that progression. Yeah, went 1500, 352 to 339. So keep an eye out for Dominic, and yeah, obviously when he's coming second in Diamond League finals, the prize money, because we will talk about this because there are a few guys and girls getting close to some prize money there. So the final was $30,000 US.
Okay.
Second of 12,000. What did Rose finish? What position? She would have picked up some cash here. 10th. Just says pays down to 8th.
Ooh.
1,000 for 8th on this sheet here. I assume this is this year. So that would be why those boys in that race, what were they? They were 9th, 10th and 11th, decided not to finish.
Yeah. That's a good call, actually.
So that was the 5K, which was on the day before. Then they went back to the stadium for the track events, the shorter track events, and the men's 1500. This had Stewy, and it also had Oli Hoare in that. Oli was third. He ran 3:30.59, his second best time ever, 5th best time for an Australian ever, and equals the Australian best result in a 1500 metre Diamond League final, because Stewy was also third in 2021. Stewy in the same race was 5th, 3:31.45, so not far behind. His 4th best time ever. Spoke about him last week, hitting form at the right time. And, Oli, that kind of yo-yo effect you're talking about, Croaks or Moose, I think you just said it, like they can have some poor ones but then bounce back in these longer seasons. And Jakob, he had a great race, 3:29, didn't he? World lead, and just doesn't look like getting beaten, that bloke. And he's managed a long season as well.
Yeah, I just watched this before. It was incredible. The man is so dominant. I can't remember watching athletics seeing a more dominant distance runner. And I mean, I've only started watching the last 10 years, so I missed the Bekele era, the Gebrselassie era, the Al Garouge era. And so, Rudisha was dominant. Who's there? 1500 girl at the moment that's super dominant.
Faith Kipyegon,
very dominant. But Jakob, he just doesn't ever look like getting beaten, does he? Like, he just owns the race. He's a tactical genius, but he has the strength and the confidence to back that up. It's quite incredible. Like, I feel like we're witnessing something very special.
And you feel like the defeat at the World Champs maybe just made him, refine his tactics.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was great for us that he lost because it's going to keep him engaged in the sport. Like, you get the feeling that through watching those docos and even hearing some things that Christian has said, he obviously is a little more in tune with those guys, that he could walk away from the sport at any minute. So I think he needs to stay engaged somehow, whether it's world record, whether it's more competition and someone pushing him. We need to keep him in the sport. I don't know what we do to do it, but because he's a generation, like once in a generation type athlete.
Yeah, pretty special. Any comments there, Croaks, before we move on? 1500 metre boys, pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was impressed with Oli to bounce back, but also his tactics were a little bit different in this race compared to the rest of the season. And I'm not sure whether it was because he didn't run so well last race, it sort of dented his confidence, but he seemed to just hang back a little bit more and run through the field. And like his last 150 was really because Stewy was in front of him for a lot of the race, but Oli just sort of hung back, wasn't quite as aggressive as he has been all season, and then was able to run a fair few people down the straight.
Yeah, cool. Then Great North Run, that happened last night. Did you catch any of this footage, Croaks? Because Moose and I saw it.
I didn't.
I'll talk about it then. Kiplimo and Borrega and Bekele kind of broke away. Kiplimo ended up smashing everyone. Like, he ran 59:30-ish, and I think Borrega was 60:30-ish. Brett Robinson was there in the picture a bit early. Didn't get to see much of the early stage of the race. They kind of keep going back and forward from the women's race to the charity kind of runners and all that kind of stuff. They do a pretty good job of covering it, I think, in general, to please everyone who's trying to watch it. And Brett Robinson did finish fifth, though. He finished fifth in 62:06. Osaka Suguru, is that the Japanese?
Suguru Osaka.
The other way around. He was fourth, and then Bekele obviously third, Borrega second, Kiplimo first. So he's in pretty good company there, Brett, boys. And 62:06, that'd be his fastest half marathon. He's been doing a lot of them recently for the season, wouldn't he? Wouldn't it?
It'd be up there. I don't think he's run far. I don't think he's broken 62 this year, has he?
Yeah, Launceston I think was maybe his fastest one, because he did Launceston, Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast. Did he do another one? No, he did a 10k in Sydney.
This one's not legal though, is it? It's net downhill, is that right?
Yeah.
I think it's asterisks, right? You get a world best, but not a world record. Because Mono ran.
He did break 62 at Launceston, 61:59.
Right, yeah, okay.
So not quite a season's best for him, but very close.
No, I thought he was good. I thought he actually beat some serious runners in that field. Beat Mark Scott, and I thought he raced pretty well. Like, he went with the pace, and that pace was strong. They had some, like, you look at Suguru Osaka. He was what was he, fourth or fifth at Tokyo Olympics. You got Kiplimo, who is the world record holder. Bekele, obviously we know Bekele, and Borrega, who is like a superstar on the track. Then you've got Brett Robinson. That's cool. That's great.
And to be only a minute behind like Bekele and Borrego, like that's, in the half marathon, that's not a lot. And those guys are like world class.
Yeah, you're looking at, behind those guys, but he was still a ways off Kiplimo.
Yeah, everyone was though. It's pretty dominant there. The next bit of news, take me to...
Did we do ladies?
Well, we didn't have any Australian ladies there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have the results copy and pasted, but I'll tell you what I saw from the footage. It was
actually a great race.
Great race, yeah.
Yeah.
You tell me what you saw.
Well, I turned it in halfway trying to work my VPN out, and I saw the Ethiopian Ayana. I'm like, where do I know this name from? And I think I sent you guys a message. I'm like, is this the chick from Rio Olympics? And remember she ran 29 low, nearly broke the world record?
She did break the world record.
In that race, did she?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, this is the most incredible performance in that 10K. She'll never be beaten again. And then she disappeared. She got, I think she had a lot of injuries and maybe had one kid, maybe more than one kid. And so she's back, and it was cool to see her. She was banging with Helen O'Beary was the pace driver, like the whole way she was on the front driving the pace. Paris Chechir, the Olympic marathon gold medalist, was also in the pack, and there was another Ethiopian who was sort of floating between being dropped and being up on the pack. But when they got down to it, that last mile, these three girls, it was off a pretty slow pace they were running. It was going, and everyone was on their limit. Helen O'Beary knows how to win races. So I thought, I'm like, she can't be on the front the whole race and still kick down, but actually she can. So 400 meters to go, all of a sudden her arms go higher, swing gets stronger. She's not the most pretty runner, but she gets it done, and her work rate increased at the end, and she ended up winning pretty comfortably over second place was Chepchirchir, and then Ayana was third. Yeah,
5 seconds separated them all at the end there. And UK listeners, Charlotte Purdy was 5th, 70-11. So she's leading into London too, isn't she? I think a lot of these girls were going into London, using this as their last hit out. Yeah,
Ayana running London?
Well, the commentary said that, and I'm like, I don't know if she is. I hadn't heard that, but I know O'Beary New York.
Yeah.
Chepchirchir is London, and Ayana, I wasn't sure what she was doing. But yeah, she's that record, I looked it up before, 29:17 for 10K, 14:12 for 5K.
It was hot too, I reckon.
Oh, it's real hot, yeah.
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what she's going to run, Ayana, because she was dominant at the time. Okay, Moose, take us to Zagreb.
Yeah. So there's a race there. We had a couple of Australians. Linden Hall ran the mile. First place, won the race. Second fastest Australian time ever, 4:21:10. So obviously that's her PB. What is the women's mile record, fellas?
Jess has it.
Jess did it just before this year.
Yeah.
They set it up.
Do we know what it is?
It's in the teens.
Yeah, I know what it is.
It's a test for you. You should know that, Brady.
I'm not like Christian. You can just call off stats like that. We talk about stats on here every week, so it's hard to keep them all.
Luke Matthews would know that.
4:19.89. She did it real set up. Remember, her pacemakers paced her.
Yeah.
It was at that high school over in Oregon. What do you reckon about that? Time trial based records compared to race, these ones?
Well, it doesn't matter.
If you do it, you do it.
Yeah. It doesn't. You can come 10th and win a world record.
That's it. Look at the world record. Look at the 5 and 10K men's world records. Even the women's, they've used paces. They've used pace lights.
Yeah, but
hasn't been a genuine race.
Yeah, but that's why if you do it in a genuine race, it's a bit more special, I reckon.
That's why if you see it happen at the Olympics, it is something else.
Yeah.
Because you've got that's when Rhodesia was so impressive that he did it
exactly.
Yeah. It's different.
And people
That's
also
my point. That's what I'm saying.
People remember it more because it is a major championship. Whereas the only way these things ever get talked about is like on our podcast. The masses don't see these events.
Yeah, but there was also a male race, and it was 3,000 metres. Morgan McDonald was in it, so our man's coming back. 7:39.05, big race from Morgan. It's a PB for him, so he's coming off his 5K, which was 13:14, was it?
No, 13:19.
13:19, okay. And then, he's come back with 7:39.05. He was in third place in that race. So the season's about to end, isn't it, for Morgan?
He's one to watch for next year. He's going to have a cracker. Like if he stays in one piece, because he hasn't been back training like full time for that long. So he's one to watch for next year.
He's one to watch early next year. Like
cross country,
world cross country titles. Yeah. I heard they're all coming home. They're going to spend they talked about that on their podcast. Crooks, you listen to that every week.
Well, I know Geordie Beamish has spoken about that he's going back to New Zealand for Christmas, and I did hear Oli say somewhere that he was coming back around Christmas as well. So it sounds like they're going to be here.
I heard a whisper they're going to base themselves in Melbourne to get ready for the World Cross Country Trials. He could win it, Morgan.
Yeah. I mean, he's got the pedigree there to win it. He's fast enough.
Just you got to start booking some accommodation for Bathurst. I think it's going to be a great race.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Even the trials in Canberra, Crooks. Can I come stay at your place, sleep on the couch or something?
Yeah.
That'd be worth watching. Let's stream it. Let's try and get some technology, get some drones or something.
One concern I do have, though, is I have heard a couple of the elite athletes on various social media say that they're not going to bother with World Cross next year because it's too far to come in the middle of like a indoor season, or it doesn't sort of work too well. So I just hope the fact that we're obviously at the other side of the world to everybody else, that it doesn't prevent some of the top people from coming, which there is a chance of that happening.
Potentially. I still think it's that deep that there'll be a lot of big dogs there. Yeah. And I think the Ugandans, the Ethiopians, the Kenyans will all value it so much.
Hopefully.
Who are you talking about? Who on social media?
I can't remember off the top of my head. Heard it. I don't know. I'll try and remember before the end of the show.
Yeah, he knows all the goss, doesn't he, Moose? This bloke.
Manages to listen to other people's podcasts, just not ours.
No, this wasn't. This was on. This was on YouTube. So
he's a real YouTube kind of boy, I reckon. Moose. Sets it up on the TV at home, puts the kids to bed.
Got the premium account, Crux?
No, I don't. Get all the ads.
Oh, I can't handle it.
What about when you put a kid show on there, Moose, and the ads come up? Do you get that happen to you guys?
Bree's not into the YouTube for the baby.
No, because we have we use ABC Kids and the Disney app. So you just download what you want to watch.
Oh yeah. Anyway, this next segment, boys, we're talking Nike Melbourne Marathon Festival. It's returning Sunday, the 2nd of October. Run past the city's most loved landmarks and finish on the hallowed turf of the MCG. Secure your spot at melbournemarathon.com.au. Race week is getting pretty close, boys. Sure, you're coaching a few people at the moment. What are you doing in programming first? There'll be a lot of listeners preparing for this race who potentially don't have a coach as qualified as Bradley Croker and Julian Spence. So let's give the listeners some tips about what training is looking like. They'll be listening to this 2.5 weeks, if you're listening on a Wednesday, from the race day. So, Moose, what are you seeing? What are you doing? What are you telling people?
Well, 2.5 weeks is where we start to wind things down gradually. So we keep the frequency of running up, but we reduce the volume. Just initially slightly. So coming into this weekend, it'll just be a shorter long run. So 2 weeks out, we'll do a maybe 80% of your normal long run. And that will take down the mileage for the week. And then 2 weeks out, I like to run 80% of normal volume and then cut that down, for the final week, including the marathon, maybe something like 60% of usual volume. But you keep the frequency of running up. So if you've got a routine that's where you run three or four times a week, well, keep running 3 or 4 times a week. Just reduce the volume that you're running. So I don't like it when people just like pull stumps and just start sleeping in and just basically forgetting about training, because you'll get to the day, you'll be stale, and you'll develop maybe some sort of bad habits through that last fortnight.
At this stage, do you do more or less kind of marathon stuff, pace work, considering the race is getting closer?
Well, you might be a little more specific to that pace, but less than you've done overall. So you're not going to go out and do a 10-mile tempo at marathon pace. Well, maybe you will. Maybe that's okay. We're all different. But you can probably start switching your workouts to try to dial in that marathon pace, even if they're not going to be as long as what they were the last 2 months.
You're kind of talking as well from someone who's had a perfect build-up. Like there might have been people that had 2 or 3 weeks interruptions not long ago that might be doing a less aggressive kind of taper.
Yeah, this is where it's hard to give specific advice, but I think if you've had a really good run, then be a little more generous to yourself in the taper. Yeah. So back it off a little bit earlier. Make sure that your body is cherry ripe for the start line.
That's where your probably attention's got to shift to about now. Like my goal is to get onto the start line, not to gain more fitness.
That's a good point. Because I would take somebody any day of the week with a body that's 100% healthy, no niggles, no pains, no gimpy gait pattern, no like mental anguish about a potential injury, over someone who's missed a workout 3 weeks out or had to rest a few days in order to get it right. So I'm taking that healthy body any day of the week.
Krogs, any training tips for the Nike Melbourne Marathon, 2.5, 3 weeks out?
Moose has covered most of it. I normally 2 weeks out, most of my runners will do around 2 hours on the Sunday, and then a week out will be like 90 minutes. The midweek long runs have pretty much gone now. I have two, so they still do like one marathon session a week, but it's a lot less volume. So, one of the sessions might be like a 2x4K or 2x5K, which is, significantly shorter than what they have been doing. And the other one is I often get them to run some stuff. So they might do 1,500 to 2K at marathon pace and then do like 500 meters a little bit quicker. It's sort of when you then go back to marathon pace, it feels a little bit easier, but also it sort of replicates just, getting a little bit excited on race day, going out a little bit too hard and then having to just dial it back and get back into race pace again. Other than that, Moose has covered everything. And that can be great for people who are getting stale at this time of the build-up, who have done a lot of marathon pace work, just to mix it up a bit, probably more so mentally for them to just do a different kind of workout at a different pace. And as you said, when you go back to that marathon pace, it will feel easy. I've been doing a lot of dress rehearsal stuff with guys. Probably it might, depending on when you listen to this, might be a bit too close to the race, but say the last 2 weeks, where some of their bigger workouts has been, I want you out there the same time as the start time, I want you to have a breakfast at the same time you're going to have it on race day, I want you in the same shoes, the same socks, the same kit, all those kind of things. Just testing. A lot of people go out and purchase new stuff for marathon race days, new singlets, new shorts, all that kind of gear. So just getting in that and seeing how it feels when it's on you for 2 hours, for 2.5 hours, for 3 hours, to make sure there's no chafing issues and you're pretty comfortable when it comes to race day. So that's something to think about as well. And then on the kit kind of stuff, Moose, Melbourne, the Nike Melbourne Marathon Festival, going to happen start of October. We know the weather can throw up absolutely anything that day. So what are you seeing in store? Maybe any interesting things that people should be thinking about that they haven't thought about yet. I know I had a friend yesterday, she asked me about chafing, for example. She's doing her first half marathon, and she's like, hey, this whole chafing thing, I've never ran further than kind of 10k in her life, and now she's starting to do a couple of 14, 15k runs, gearing up for the half marathon, and experienced chafing for the first time.
The two cheapest, most undervalued pieces of kit that you can get before a race is anti-chafe cream. So whether it's Body Glide or Sport Shield, or there's a number of products out there, so much better than Vaseline. Don't use Vaseline, it's shit. There are actual products that won't cost you much at all that just improve or enhance your experience of running so much more than if you don't use it. There's nothing worse than sort of getting halfway in and starting to have to sort of run with a real wide gait if you get crutch chafe or you're chafing under your arms or you got the blood nipples. So I just bathe myself in anti-chafe before the start. Like, there's really no harm in that. The other thing is socks. So a good pair of technical running socks can really reduce your risk of blistering. And that's another thing that can happen, like when you're out there longer than maybe you have been in the past, you're on asphalt, concrete. We get blisters on race days that we've never seen before. And so a good pair of technical socks can help with that. But yeah, anti-chafe stuff. If it's going to be wet, so if it's going to be really rainy, then consider maybe wearing like a half tight over a baggy split short. I know that like you won't get that heavy, sticky, wet fabric like of a split short, and it can also help with chafing in having a half tight rather than a split short.
And the pockets in a half tight as well, usually much better than the splitties.
They are, yeah.
Gels, yeah.
They are, correct. You normally go, and it's I don't know, for some reason it just, when it's wet, I just like a half tight. I don't think I'm the only one out there. Consider a hat if it's raining. Keeping the water out of your eyes for a long period of time. It sounds ridiculous to start a race when it's pouring rain with a hat on, but it actually does shield your face from the rain when it gets heavy. And I know it's way more comfortable for me wearing a hat. On the flip side, if it's really warm, consider sunglasses, because you're running down along the beach. The sun really can beam up off the water and the road, and you're squinting a lot if it's sunny. So squinting sort of, for me, just fatigues me. And even when it gets a bit windy, sometimes it gets windy down there, just a lot of dust blowing around, a lot of sand, just keep stuff out of your eyes. So sunglasses is a good option. If it's going to be a chilly morning, consider wearing a layer that you can peel off, like running sleeves. So like arm sleeves are great if you're wearing a singlet. Like the arm sleeves will give you the feel of wearing like a longer sleeve top, and you can peel them off as soon as you start to warm up. Same with gloves, like cover the extremities. Gloves you can just pocket, chuck them to a mate on the side, or you can just put them in a pocket in your shorts or tuck them down your pants. It's what I normally do. If you're really cold on the start line, chuck on an old jumper that you're going to get rid of. And I think Melbourne, we'd have to check on this, but a lot of the big races, they'll go and collect the warm-up kit from the start line. So if someone gets there 20 minutes into the gate beforehand, they might get cold, so they chuck on an old piece of like op shop kit, and I think they might donate that clothing to somebody. So I don't know the details of what Melbourne does with it, but always a good idea. Covers it, I reckon.
Covers it pretty good. The last point I wanted to talk about as well is some mental strategies on the day. Self-belief. I know I like to always, at this time of the program, maybe in a week's time, have a look at my training from the last 6 or 7 weeks and just spend some time looking over my workouts, trying to almost get a bit nervous before a race, and seeing all the numbers actually convinces myself that I know I'm ready for the marathon. And looking back over the long runs and some of the bigger workouts and just your mileage in general is a good way to kind of get some confidence. I know mental strategies on race day. When I did Melbourne in 2015, I went through a really bad patch when you drop down. You guys know near like the art centre there on the way back? I'm going to say like 33k, 34k.
Where you loop back under?
Yeah, you kind of turn at the art centre there left, and then you go down a hill, which I found really difficult because I'd been running on the straight road for such a period of time, and then my legs almost kind of got really jelly going down that hill, and then you turn and go in this really quiet part of the course under a bridge. So all of a sudden, like the lighting changes, which I think impacts you when you're used to having sunlight on you for a long period of the race, and then you take a tight right-hand turn and start climbing the hill towards the shrine. So I think that's a really difficult part of the course because you get some downhill, you get some darkness where it's quiet, there's not much going on there, and you're bracing yourself for the hill up to the Shrine of Remembrance. So then when I went back there last year, I was just like, hey, this is it. Like, be ready for this. Your legs might feel jelly going down this hill. You know there's a bigger hill coming. Toby Mende put in a massive surge through there as well, which made my life difficult as well. So it was kind of like one of those things that I'm like, I'm preparing for this mentally because I know what it's going to do to my body physically. And yeah, I think it's just important to, you know what I also do with bigger races like this? I watch the previous year's footage of their live streams, just to, like, and I'll just have it on the background when I'm at home kind of thing, but just to hear what the people doing the comments are talking about, have a look at like what you're seeing on the course. I think it's really good, like for mentally, for that visualization stuff, to just know what you're preparing for on race day. And especially if you haven't run this course before, that's a really valuable resource. Anything else there, boys? Mental strategies? Anything? I know Moosh has spoken about before, like you'll have different parts of the course where you'll be thinking about significant people in your life.
Yeah, and save that to the end. Save the adrenaline boosting, more emotive stuff till late. I reckon when you need it early on, be just disciplined. It's all about being disciplined and patient early on. It's a marathon, and you can really lose the race and ruin your race in the first 15K if you're not careful. So just think about it. If you're with a pack that you're not supposed to, there's still time to get out of that. There's still time to remedy it. So just you're going to have to check the ego a little bit. Have people running past you is totally fine in the first 30K. People running past you is not a problem because you'll get them back later if you run your race well.
Croaks, mentally?
Like in the days leading up and even the morning, like don't waste energy on things you can't control. Like I know everyone gets obsessed with, what's the forecast going to be for that whole week leading up? And it's like, well, you can't change it. So just it is what it is on the day. I know like over the next 2 weeks, like the conversations I'm having with most of my athletes is coming up with their strategy. So you want them on the start line, being confident in the plan that you've put together. And so obviously that plan should be challenging but realistic. And then that goes into the whole whatever strategy you've then come up with, be disciplined. Don't go, 5K in, I feel way better than, say it's 4-minute Ks, it was the strategy. I feel way better than 4-minute K than, at 4-minute Ks, I'm going to run 350s or 355s. Like just be patient. And then when it starts to get tough, which it will, 30K, 35K, that's where just keep putting one foot in front of the other and have faith that all of those long runs and those long marathon specific sessions, that's, having done those, that's what gets you through those last, 5 to 10K.
Yeah, and break it up mentally as well. Like it's about, a lot of people use the 5K markers. So it's like especially when you're going through those bad patches. Like if you're having a bad day at 20, it's like it's about getting to 25. It's not about getting to 42 at that stage. And then when you get to 25, it's about getting to 30. When you mentally break it down like that, or, just even time-based, sometimes I use that in a race. It's about stringing another 15 minutes together at this pace and then reassessing when you get to that.
Yeah, it's a good point, Brady. Like another thing is you will go through a bad patch, but that doesn't mean that that's going to continue for the rest of the race. Like I know even myself at Gold Coast, I got to like 37 or 38K and I'm like, holy hell, I'm completely shot here. And then that lasted for maybe 5 minutes and then I felt okay again. So yeah, you are going to have rough patches, but they will go away and you will come good again. So just try and stay positive and keep reminding yourself that this isn't permanent. It will go away and you'll have a good patch again.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my Strava from last year, 29 to 30. I had 2 really slow Ks because I had a really bad stitch, and I was like, I'm going to end up pulling out right here if this does not improve, and I'm going to have to explain this on the podcast on Monday night, and this is going to be awkward because I hate pulling out of races. And then the stitch went away a K after, and we rolled home. But every one of us goes through bad patches in a race. And my last point about the core stuff, your GPS isn't the course. It isn't the timing for the race. The 5K markers, the 1K markers on the course is what the race is going at. Your GPS is going to be different from that. So maybe get into a habit of manually, if it's 5K splits you want to do or 1K splits or whatever it is, turn off your GPS splits on your watch and then manually hit the lap button on your watch to get accurate splits when you do go past the big signed K markers. Because there's people who have always fallen in a trap of pacing their race off their GPS. And we know that the GPS obviously is going to measure more here. Mine measured 42.73 last year. So yeah, be prepared to see an extra 500-600 metres on your watch after the race. Don't base your race on that one.
Yeah.
And look at, if you're interested, look at other people's Stravas and stuff as well. You can see where the faster and the slower Ks are, all that kind of stuff's on the internet. The Nike Melbourne Marathon did want us to tell our listeners that they're currently at 96% capacity for the half marathon. There are only a couple of spots left. They'll probably be sold out for next week, they're predicting there. So if anyone is wanting to register or upgrade, downgrade their entry, now is the time. And the marathon is at 90% capacity, so not far behind the Nike half marathon there, which is pretty impressive. It's going to be a big day. And yeah, massive thanks to Nike Melbourne Marathon for supporting the Inside Running podcast. Secure your spot today, Sunday 2nd of October, your city, your run, melbournemarathon.com.au. We're done there, boys. Listener question, Croaks. 2 there for you to choose from.
All right, I'll do the top one. Hi, guys.
Tonight, wasn't it? Here we go again.
Hi, guys. Listener question for consideration. With the experience and knowledge you all have now, if you went back in time, what words of wisdom would you give to your younger self as you embarked on your running journey? What, if anything, would you do differently? And that question comes in from Jamie.
Good question. Deep one.
This is an easy one for me. Easy as be patient. Be patient. Going full send on training is not the brave thing to do, or the it's not the all in type. You don't get the results from that like you think you do. I wish I could go back and change the attitude I had about running early and just be patient with my training and not try to force everything. So you don't have to run 100 miles a week in your first year of running. You don't have to run 100K a week in your first year. Run 50K. Be patient with it. Build up over time slowly. That's how you're going to become the best runner eventually. There is no short-term shortcut to getting better at running. There just isn't one out there. And if you're looking for that, then you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get injured. You're going to miss years of running. Your progression will halt and slow down. You're never going to reach your potential.
You'll probably leave the sport as well, I think.
Yes, yeah, that's right. And that may be a personality thing. Is like, okay, I'm going to invest everything in this. I'm going to do basically just commit to it. I want to go full send into the running world. But it's not the type of activity that works for.
Yeah, I was going to say patience as well. I wish I could tell myself back in the day, it's a long-term game, distance running. It's probably not even about 3 to 5 years. It's about 10 to 15. And if you stick at it and if you be consistent and you're patient and you can string the weeks, which lead to months, which leads to years together, that's when you're going to see your best results. And I think if I go back as well, it's probably about building routines that are sustainable, because I think they really help you with your training as well to consistently get out there and do it. Croaks?
Yep. Pretty much the same. Just I remember one of my coaches, and I was too young to sort of realise at the time, but it was big picture, little picture sort of conversation. And the problem is, I see it even now with people that I coach, it's they come to running relatively new and everything is geared towards the race in 6 weeks or, 6 months. And it's yes, you want to, that keeps you motivated in the short term, but you want to have one eye 10 years down the track. And so many runners don't have the discipline to think that way, which means that, yes, they are then cooking themselves in sessions because they're thinking that if I do this really hard now, that's going to help me in 6 weeks' time for that race. And so that was probably, I'm sure we've all made that mistake. So that's probably the one thing which then would have maybe allowed me to, I wish I'd probably moved up in distance a bit earlier to the marathon and ran sort of more consistent miles earlier in my running journey. I only hit probably 100 miles for the first time ever when I was early 30s or something. And I'd been running for a long time before that.
Yeah, I wish I did more long runs and less fast workouts, which were like races.
Yeah, it's easy to say that though when you're old.
I know. Now I'm just
when you're young, it's like the short stuff comes easy, and the long stuff you're like, oh, this is crap, this is a grind. But now that you're old, you wish you did that when you were younger. Yeah.
And now that we got more, like the stuff we started talking about at the start of the show, like exposure to these older runners, like who are successful, talking about that was their main workout. Like the long run was the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Taking an hour, making an hour run a 40-minute run. That was or a 16k run into a 12k run. Just when you were right in the line, you didn't need to push it. So many injuries came from that. From what you saw on paper, my program says I have to do this, I go out and do that.
Yeah, mine was more trying to beat the pace guide though. And the pace guide probably being too quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Hey, do 3x3k at 3:05s. It's like, well, I'll do them at 3s.
And also
and
back
you're nervous
then,
the whole day beforehand and stuff, and you just you cooked at the end of it. But then your long run's only like an hour 45. Whereas I wish I was doing 2.5 and just run at 3:20s for the workout.
Yeah, and back then too, most people were doing 3 quality sessions a week, which going back, I would probably have preferred just to have done 2. Whereas 3 was the go. 3 was Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and they were always pretty hard.
Hit some good training talk topics tonight, boys. That was good. Thank you. Who was that sending that?
Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie, for sending that one in. Moose on the Loose, purchase of the week. What do you got this week, Julian?
Oh, I've actually bought some stuff now that you think about it. So I got a waterproofer. So I got this awesome Patagonia jacket last year. I think we might have talked about it. Maybe we didn't. But it's top of the line, waterproof, Gore-Tex Pro. It's you go outside and you are not getting wet. It's just the most brilliant jacket. Anyway, I wore it mowing the lawn the other day. I don't mow the lawn very often, so I didn't realise how much petrol I'd get spilled all over it. And then it's just cooked it. And so I bought this waterproof. It stopped being waterproof. And so I bought this waterproof spray and applied it today. It looks pretty good, actually. Looks pretty good. So I put some water on it, beat it off. So I reckon I might have saved the jacket. That's one thing I bought. Also bought a flirt pole for my dog. So you might have to Google what that is. But basically it's like a big fishing rod looking thing where you encourage your dog's prey drive. So it chases it around. It's basically like a cat toy for a dog. And sometimes you let them have it if you got a good end to it, like a leather thing. You let them bite it or whatever. That hasn't arrived yet, so that's a shame. I'm looking forward to that coming. But the Moose on the Loose, this one was. Have you noticed lately that brands have moved away from, running brands have moved away from supporting runners, but they're quite happy to support non-running celebrities or influencers?
Mm-hmm.
You've noticed?
Also the influencers.
Yeah. And they're a lot of runners losing deals. Some companies, I know it's different between giving a pair of shoes, but I'm sure some of these influencers get money as well. So these runners losing contracts and struggling to sort of get around the country, get around Europe because they got no money, and not on a holiday, working trips, obviously. But then, you're seeing random celebrities who don't run rock up in Alpha Flies, Vapor Flies, other brands' shoes. and you think, what was the priorities here? Like, are the marketing departments from these companies, are they so far removed from running that they don't think it's important to look after the actual sports that they're trying to sell shoes in? Or do they think because someone has 20,000 followers, they're going to get more shoes sold from that? And I think like this has been going on for a while, culminating today. And I had our good friend Zach sent us a sound grab from must have been a radio show that Sam Newman was on, saying that Nike.
I think it's his podcast. I think he's got a podcast.
Oh, surely no one listening to that. Well, someone did, because obviously Zach listened to it, sent it to us. And
someone would have sent it to him.
Nike, basically Sam Newman's gone on and said Nike called me up, told me to come and get some shoes, and they gave him the Zoom 2%, as he was calling them. So he doesn't run or anything, I don't think. So he's walking around Melbourne and he's not, as he refers to the Nike Zoom 2%. So that was good of Nike to look after. Like, I mean, to me, in my mind, the credibility of the brand suffers, and the credibility of the shoe suffers if you bastardize it, right? So you take a shoe like the Alpha Fly, which is a high-end premium running shoe, like what, and you give it to someone to go walking around town in. Like, that's not good for your shoe. That's not good for the reputation of that shoe or the credibility of it. In my mind, it's not anyway. I just wonder how that happens.
So that shoe should go to a running influencer like yourself, Moose.
Why aren't I getting that shoe? My 50K a week, I need that shoe. Nah.
Why isn't like Andy or Liam or someone Sinead getting an extra pair of that shoe? I'm sure she's obviously Nike. She gets some to start with, but like, yeah, where could that shoe be going? That's what frustrates me.
Yeah, there's shoes going to their athletes, of course, but there's not as many athletes like Nike athletes anymore, and there's only a certain amount of these shoes that hit the country. Like, these are allocations, these are small units, and so it frustrates me when I see them, one of those pairs that could have gone to a runner, end up on a celebrity to walk around St Kilda in. Yeah,
or even just sold to an actual runner who wants to do the Melbourne Marathon in 3 hours and 10 minutes in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, like, they don't get a pair.
Hey, they're sold out. We only got 20 pairs and we sold them all.
Yeah.
That's a problem. But do you think the whole influencer thing, though, how influential is it? Do you like? Yeah,
well, I don't.
Because these, like, you say it's influential because they got 20,000 followers on Instagram, but like, are people buying shoes because they see an influencer wearing those shoes? This is what I'm sure the marketing people all figure out, and that's probably why they give it to them. But like, you put that person down at Parkrun on a Saturday, or come down to the town relays on the weekend, go do an actual fun run, and do they have any influence in the real world, not just behind a screen?
They've got to have influence in the running community.
That's surely. What I mean. Yeah, I'm saying I don't think they have any influence in the running community.
No.
And I don't think their followers would, be runners that would be influenced by them. I think, there'd be a lot of, I don't know. Yeah, it depends on who the influencer is. The demographic of their runners.
When we saw that Tim Robards bloke telling people to do high knees in the middle of the city to surf.
He was the ambassador. He was the ambassador for the city to surf. So he got that as a paid position. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Like, why? Like, are we that starved of personality in the running world that that's where we've ended up? Maybe we are, but I don't think so. I think it just frustrates me here, like, that our sport has turned to that. Like, in that, let's say the AFL world, right? They're not grabbing a tennis player and whacking AFL boot or like footy boots on, going, hey, this is it, or a celebrity trying to sell a footy boot. Like, you don't see that. You don't see celebrities with tennis rackets or influencers with tennis rackets trying to sell that. They've got tennis players with tennis rackets, and golfers. Like, there are some celebrities who market golf brands. I'll pay that. But this is like, why in running do we not use our actual elite sportsmen and sportswomen as marketing tool.
It's a good point. I like it. Sammy Newman. Hasn't he been cancelled like 10 times by now as well? Anyway.
I can't tolerate it. I don't like... yeah, let's move on.
I'll give you some things to tolerate. This weekend, it's a super weekend of running here in Australia because we've got the Australian Marathon Championships up in Sydney. We spoke about that last week. Athletes Australia announced it yet, Moose? Have you seen any press?
Oh.
I still haven't.
Well, I haven't. No, I haven't looked, but it hasn't popped up.
Just quickly, you open their Instagram page, Croaks. You have a look at their Facebook page, because I'm going to tell you about the elite fields in the Sydney Marathon. I said last week that I'd had a sneak peek of them, and they are pretty impressive. There's 1:2:04 marathoner, Ruben Kiprop Kipyego from Kenya. He's ran 2:03:55, and then there are 3 2:04 guys, 4 2:04 guys, 2 2:05 guys, 2 2:06 guys that make up the men's elite field. Mostly Kenyan, couple of Ethiopians in there. They bring their own pacemakers as well. South African Stewy Mcsweyn, he won something, didn't he? He won Lake Biwa. He was at Lake Biwa when we were there, Brady. Yeah, that's where I know that name. Edwin Kipplegat. They bring him some good pacemakers, so they'll want that fast. Women, they've got 2 sub-2:20 marathons coming. The Nambian, Johannes, we've spoken about her before as well. She just raced something recently, didn't she? She raced with Com Games.
Yeah, she's... Yes. No, I think she pulled out of the race, didn't she?
She might have. Should have done some research there. I've just got the elite fields in front of me. So 2 sub-2:20 girls, 1 2:20, a handful of 2:21, 2:22, 2:23 girls, and they got their own pacemaker, 2:07 guy from Kenya as well there. So huge international elite fields. The only Australian mention in the Sydney press release that I got sent through was Sinead Diver is going to be running the half marathon, and Ryan and Genevieve Gregson will be doing the bridge run. Is that 10K, Croaks?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So not sure who's in the Australian Marathon Champs. Not sure. Was there any announcements on their social media?
No, not on Facebook.
Yep, so that still hasn't been announced, and it's in 5 days. Moose, anything on their Instagram?
Nothing up there, nothing.
So I wonder how the states are going, sending teams to that as well. That'd be hard
Brady,
for them to do.
Johannes was 3rd in Birmingham.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
She won Gold Coast, right?
She won Gold Coast and finished 3rd this year, yeah.
Yep. So that's a short turnaround, though. Birmingham to this.
She's pretty quick. I reckon she's like a 2:22 runner, maybe.
2:19.
She's run 2:19:52.
Oh,
got me by 1 second, Johannes. So that's on Sunday. Then City of Bay is... So this is the Australian Road Running Championships, boys, which is also on Sunday. So a big clash there with the Road Championships clashing with the Marathon Championships. There's 12K and half marathon over there. The 12K is the Australian Championships. So they kind of do that in cooperation with the event over there. Good money, $3,000 first prize for both the races over there, the 12K and the half marathon. So I reckon if you enter the half marathon, all the big dogs go to the 12K. Could be an easy way to pick up some money over there in South Australia.
I wonder if this is the first year that they put the half marathon on, because it used to just be
last year as well, I think.
Oh, okay,
yeah, last year as well. It's pretty new. And I'm hearing big whispers. You guys heard anything about who's going to do that?
No.
You'll be very pleased to hear this name, Moose, going to Adelaide on the weekend.
Going to Adelaide?
Yeah,
City to Bay?
You'll be very pleased.
Andy Buchanan.
No, not Andy. He's at 10, really.
Jack Rayner.
Jack Rayner.
Get him out of that team.
Out of the Western Athletics team, which I don't think they're happy about, because they flew him home to do 10 relays to try and hold down that second position.
They flew him home.
Yeah, no, they did, supposedly, because he wanted to stay over there because he's got to do London Marathon. He's doing London Marathon in a couple of weeks, so they flew him home, and he's got to do this, and then he's going to the Australian Road Racing Champs, and then he'll go back, supposedly. This is all just from Nath Pearce, so I'm not sure how accurate it is. Not good for the Western Athletic boys on the tan relays, which is also happening this week on Saturday morning. Geez, it'd be good to get some fields, wouldn't it? How bad is this segment trying to build some hype for these races when we've got no fields? But Town Relays, that's the last race of the AV season, which is happening. So a big triple header of running in Australia here on the weekend. I'm sure something's happening overseas. But that's stuff to look forward to there. Another little announcement I had, we're doing that Melbourne Marathon live show, which we spoke about last week, thanks to Ernie Old. They're our partner for this one. Croaks isn't going to be there, Croaks, but we filled your seat. Filled it pretty easy in the end with a real big dog. The queen of Melbourne Marathon, Sinead Diver, is going to be filling in for Bradley Croker. She's the 2018 winner. She's the record holder on that course. So looking forward to hearing all things from Sinead at that show. Tickets, unfortunately, if you haven't got one, did sell out pretty quick. After we went to Patreon supporters, there was only 8 available. So they were snapped up really quick. And it's pretty, not the biggest venue in the world, so pretty tight venue, and we can't have any more seats in there, unfortunately. But 70 seats will be nice to have there in Melbourne. Details for the unofficial after party will be out sometime closer to the date as well. So if you haven't got a ticket but want to come down for a beer, maybe get Moose to sign your t-shirt or something, he'll be floating around, have a beer with him, and it should be good to have a couple of beverages after the live show. So it'll be fun, boys. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Be good.
Really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Jealous.
Yeah, well, you said you can't come. What are you doing? You going to a wedding or something, aren't you?
No, I've got a few things on. It's a long weekend too.
Oh, is it? Is it finals that weekend as well? NRL? Are they finished by then?
The NRL finals that day.
His birthday. We pushed the birthday party back for this.
Yeah.
And you still can't get here.
Couldn't have 2 people pulling out. Had to get 2 of us here. So thankful for you doing that, Moose. And I'm thinking London Marathon will be happening that evening. So we could be like drinking beers after the live show, potentially following the tracker, seeing Brett Robinson break the Australian record. Could be a special day in Melbourne.
So what you're saying is you're going to be the guy in the corner being antisocial just on your phone.
Oh, I'm going to
the
get
after party.
Actually, they're asking about what we want on the TVs and stuff there. I might try to get the race actually on the TV. Do you know Moose is bringing his Australian Singlet Croaks? He got it framed up. He's going to bring it down for people to pose in front of for photos.
Bullshit.
No, he's got it. This is what Zach and him have been talking about during the week.
Yeah, well, we've got to get people there somehow.
Well, mate, we sold it out. There's people going to be there. So, that should be good. So that's the last announcement there. Nothing else is happening. No interview this week. Thanks to people that wrote in last week, though, with the Hugh Van Colenberg one. Very grateful for those comments that come in there. And, Moose, what are you doing between now and next week? 10 relays.
What am I doing? There was something I was going to do this week. I can't remember it. I'll tell you about it next week when I do it.
Okay, that'll be good. Croaks, what are you doing between now and next week?
Chatting to the King of the North, I guess, on Wednesday night. Find out why he's run close to 200k 2 weeks out from the marathon.
Has he?
Well, that was, it's up until the end of last week. I think he ran 191k last week.
He'll have an answer for you.
2 weeks out.
He'll have an answer for you ready to go because he'll hear this before he does it. The King of the North, yeah. Thanks to all the new Norwegian listeners out there who are enjoying that show as well. All right, boys, we're done. That was episode number 254. We'll do it all again next week.
See you, boys.
See ya. This episode of the Inside Running Podcast is brought to you by Pillar Performance, Australia's leading sports micronutrition brand, providing high-strength, informed, sport-certified formulations to support recovery, boost immunity, and relieve joint inflammation for endurance athletes. Available online now at pillarperformance.shop.